Who hasn't dreamed of being transported to a fantasy world? That classic anime setup. You die in some supposedly heroic way, get reincarnated with overpowered abilities, defeat the Demon King, and as a bonus, build yourself a harem. We've gotten used to those plot-armored protagonists, like in SAO, where the adventure is epic and full of glory. But what if reality was pathetic? What if, instead of a noble hero, you were a total loser who died of shock just thinking he got run over by a slow-moving tractor? That's the kind of twisted brilliance Konosuba brings to the table. Forget honor and morality. Here, the goddess is a useless freeloader drowning in debt. The mage is a one-spell terrorist with a flair for unnecessary explosions. And the paladin is a full-on masochist who enjoys getting beaten up by monsters. It's basically what you'd get if the cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia got dropped into a medieval RPG. This story isn't about saving the world. It's about a group of terrible people trying and failing to survive their own incompetence while sleeping in a stable. So get ready, because today we dive into the chaotic saga of the most dysfunctional, unlucky party in anime history. Kazuma is your quintessential shut-in meat. He only leaves the house to buy games, basically that guy from the South Park World of Warcraft episode. On his way home, he sees a girl about to be hit by a truck, and in a Spider-Man moment of heroism, he dives in to save her. He wakes up in a strange dimension, think Harry Potter's Limbo, and comes face to face with a goddess named Aqua. She confirms he's dead, but immediately drops the act and starts roasting him. The truck was actually a slow-moving tractor that would have stopped anyway. Kazuma didn't die from the impact. He died of pure shock.
You died of shock. Apparently you thought it was a truck.
You're kidding!
The doctor and even his own family laughed at his funeral. It was such a pathetic death, it would easily top a Dumb Ways to Die compilation. After laughing her head off, Aqua explains that heaven is a total bore and offers a second option: reincarnate in an RPG-style world to defeat a demon king who's terrorizing the land. No one wants to go there, so they're desperate for heroes. She explains he can take any cheat code item or overpowered ability with him. As he browses his options, the goddess starts rushing him, acting exactly like a disgruntled DMV clerk who hates your guts. Fed up with her arrogance, Kazuma decides to get even. He chooses to take Aqua herself as his item. Fate's a comedian. A replacement angel appears, gives them a thumbs up, and transports them both. Aqua hits full panic mode, but it's too late. They land in the town of Axel. At first, Kazuma is hyped, thinking he's going to be the OP anime protagonist, but he soon realizes he's been scammed. Aqua is completely useless, and she can't go back to heaven until they defeat the final boss. They head to the Adventurers Guild, which looks like a classic Dungeons and Dragons tavern. A tough guy points them to the counter, but they find out there's a registration fee. Dead broke, the goddess Aqua tries to shake down a passing priest like a loan shark. The priest explains he's from a different religion, but gives her some cash out of pure pity. Fee paid, they check their stats. Kazuma finds out he's basically a generic NPC with high luck, but garbage combat stats. Aqua, however, has divine stats and qualifies as an archpriest, but stats don't buy dinner. Without money or gear, their epic adventure boils down to working as construction laborers. Instead of slaying dragons, they spend weeks laying bricks and drinking cheap beer with the blue-collar crew, sleeping in a stinky stable. His hero life feels more like a reality show for D-list celebrities. Kazuma wakes up in the stable, staring at Aqua, who's sleeping in until noon like she's on vacation. He's fed up with their financial instability, sounding like a millennial complaining about NYC rent. Determined to change things, he grabs a short sword and drags the goddess to their first quest, hunting 5 giant toads in 3 days. Out in the field, reality hits hard. A giant toad starts chasing Kazuma, who runs for his life like Forrest Gump. Meanwhile, Aqua is busy laughing at his misery. Instant karma strikes. The toad switches targets and chomps down on the goddess.
Ask for something off your plate, you have to give it to me. Enter.
Since the thing swallows slowly, Kazuma manages to kill it and save her. She emerges crying and covered in slime, looking like she just crawled out of a Ghostbusters monster. Wanting to prove she's not dead weight, Aqua charges a pink toad and uses a fancy-sounding move, God Blow. The result? 0 damage. The toad doesn't even feel it and swallows her again. Kazuma has to save her skin once more. That night, over a plate of fried toad meat, Aqua suggests recruiting new members, since this dynamic duo is more like Dumb and Dumber. The next day, they post an ad had for advanced classes. No one shows up until a petite girl with an eye patch and a black cloak appears. She introduces herself as Megumin, an arch-wizard, delivering a dramatic, over-the-top speech like she's in a bad Shakespeare play. Immediately after, she collapses from hunger. Kazuma tries to remove her eye patch, thinking she's hurt, but she claims it's a magical seal, meaning it's just for show. Pure cosplayer energy. They take her to hunt the remaining toads. Aqua tries to attack and, you guessed it, gets swallowed again. Meanwhile, Megumin begins her incantation. The atmosphere gets heavy. She recites a Chunabu poem and unleashes an explosion spell that looks like a nuclear warhead directed by Michael Bay. The blast is so massive, it turns the toad in the landscape into a smoking crater. There's just one catch. The spell drains all her energy. Megumin drops to the ground paralyzed, as useless as a paperweight, and the noise just attracted another toad. With the wizard face down and the goddess being digested nearby, Kazuma has to hustle to rescue both deadweights and finish the quest. On the way back to town, carrying Megumin on his back, she explains she's addicted to explosion magic and refuses to learn anything else, even if she can only use it once a day. Kazuma tries to fire her on the spot, but she starts screaming and making a scene in the street, forcing him to keep her in the party just to avoid the public embarrassment. While the girls wash off the toad slime, Kazuma collects their measly reward and laments his life. That's when a blonde paladin named Darkness appears, wanting to join the team. Apparently, Kazuma's weirdo magnet is set to maximum. The conversation with Darkness takes a bizarre turn. Kazuma notices the blonde is getting a little too excited, imagining how he destroyed Aqua and Megumin during the toad fight. She admits she's strong and has impenetrable defense, but her accuracy is worse than a stormtrooper on a bad day. She can't hit a barn door. Kazuma tries to reject her, but when he mentions his party is constantly suffering, her eyes light up. Apparently, danger is her aphrodisiac. The next day at the guild, Aqua is performing party tricks with water, looking like a cheap birthday entertainer. Kazuma ignores her and focuses on the grind, learning new skills. He finds out he needs to see someone perform a skill to learn it. Darkness arrives with a thief friend named Chris, who agrees to teach him some tricks in exchange for a drink. They take Kazuma to an alley for a practical lesson on the steal skill, Chris swiping his wallet in the blink of an eye. She's as smooth as a subway pickpocket. The challenge is simple. If he can use the skill to get his wallet or her dagger back, he wins. Chris, being crafty, fills her hands with pebbles to lower his chances of getting anything good. Kazuma activates the skill, and the result leaves everyone speechless. Instead of the wallet, he magically teleports her into his hand.
No way! This is better than I thought! Jackpot!
Total chaos ensues. Kazuma starts spinning the in the air like a Super Bowl trophy, while Chris dies of embarrassment and Darkness looks on in awe, probably jealous of the humiliation. Back at the guild, Chris is in tears because she had to bargain to get her underwear back, which nukes Kazuma's reputation before he even starts. To make matters worse, he tests the skill on Megumin, and, unexpectedly, it results in an awkward and embarrassing mishap. Darkness begs to join the party again. Kazuma says no, and her unexpected reaction turns the situation into an awkward but funny moment. Seeing no way out, and with the other two agreeing to take the paladin, Kazuma plays his last card. He tells them their goal is to kill the Demon King, the ultimate suicide mission. Instead of being scared, Megumin and Darkness get even more hyped. He's stuck with this circus. Suddenly, an emergency siren blares. The whole town panics, but it's not a legendary monster. It's flying cabbage season. Yes, sentient cabbages flying toward the city. It's basically a vegan apocalypse. The battle is pure chaos. Darkness throws herself in front of the cabbages to protect everyone, but she's really just enjoying the impact, her armor getting shredded while she loves every second. While the other adventurers think she's a noble martyr, Kazuma knows it's just pure masochism. Megumin, losing patience, solves the problem her way. She drops a nuclear explosion that vaporizes the entire flying garden and blows everyone back. In the aftermath, Kazuma uses steel to bag as many cabbages as possible, securing the cash. Surprisingly, Aqua uses her party tricks to purify the vegetables and heal the crowd, being useful for the first time in her life. At dinner, over fried cabbage, reality sets in for Kazuma. Darkness is officially part of the team. The nightmare is complete. With the Cabbage War bounty in their pockets, the party starts upgrading. Kazuma learns some basic spells, looking like he's following a level 1 RPG tutorial. Megumin buys a new staff to boost her explosions, and Darkness invests in new armor. As for Aqua, well, Aqua got screwed. It turns out her purified cabbages were actually just cheap lettuce in disguise, so she got paid peanuts and spent it all immediately. Desperate, she blackmails Kazuma into paying off her massive guild debt. The next day, Kazuma finally trades his tracksuits for actual medieval fantasy gear. He tries to pick easy quests to avoid traumatizing the girls again, but he finds out all the low-level monsters have vanished. The reason? A general of the Demon King moved into the neighborhood, scaring off all the small fry. Only hard mode quests are left. With nothing to do, Kazuma spends the next few weeks following Megumin on her training routine. Every day, they hike to an abandoned castle far from town. She drops her daily explosion, destroys a piece of the building, and Kazuma carries her back on his back since she collapses from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Aqua is making artificial flowers and selling veggies, and Darkness goes to train at home. Kazuma is ready to give up on the hero life and ignore the Demon King entirely, but the peace doesn't last. A town-wide summons gathers all adventurers at the gate. There, the general appears. Beldia Abdullahan, the classic headless knight from folklore and Tim Burton movies. The guy is furious, not because he wants to conquer the world, but because some idiot has been blowing up his castle every single day while he's trying to rest. The #1 mage in Axel, aka Megumin, steps forward and proudly takes the blame, thinking she's being a total badass. The Dullahan just wanted the noise to stop, like a neighbor complaining about loud music on a Sunday morning. But things escalate. Megumin calls Aqua for backup, but Beldia is fast and casts a death curse on the mage. However, Darkness, in her heroic moment, jumps in and takes the curse instead.
To death. In 1 week, you shall die.
She has 1 week to live. The Dullahan expects her to fall into despair, but Darkness's reaction is peculiar. Instead, she gets lost in a series of bizarre and unsettling fantasies. The villain is visibly uncomfortable and cringing hard. He looks like someone who accidentally walked into the wrong chat room. Beldia promises to lift the curse if Megumin comes to his castle and leaves, thinking he set a tense mood. Kazuma and Megumin start planning a suicide mission to save Darkness, full of shonen determination. That's when Aqua walks up to Darkness, casts a simple spell, and poof, the curse is gone. Kazuma and Megumin are left with blank stares. The useless goddess, by some miracle, actually did her job as a deity and solved the problem in 2 seconds, leaving everyone shocked while the other adventurers cheer. Kazuma is in a post-victory slump, complaining that his fantasy life is a far cry from the Disney dream he expected. But the bills don't stop, and Aqua is in debt up to her neck. She tries to take an insane quest to stop a war between mythical monsters, but Kazuma, the only one with functional brain cells, vetoes it immediately. They settle on a tamer task, purifying a lake full of brutal alligator monsters. The plan is worthy of a crazy Discovery Channel documentary, since Aqua needs to be in contact with the water to purify it, and she attracts monsters like sugar attracts ants. Kazuma rents a giant iron cage. He locks the goddess inside and drops her into the lake, literally turning the almighty deity into shark bait, while Aqua hits total panic watching the gators bite the bars Jaws style. The rest of the team sits on the shore having a picnic and debating who has to use the bathroom. 5 hours later, the lake is clean and Aqua is traumatized, refusing to leave her safety cage. But the day is far from over. A guy who radiates generic anime protagonist energy arrives in town. It's Mitsurugi, another Japanese guy reincarnated by Aqua. The guy received a legendary cursed sword called Graham and thinks he's living the perfect hero's journey. He sees Aqua being carried in a cage like a circus animal and loses it, breaking the bars to save the goddess. The problem? Aqua doesn't even remember who he is. Mitsurugi is furious at how Kazuma treats the girls and starts delivering a moral lecture. He sounds like a high school football captain bullying nerds while thinking he's the hero. He offers to save the girls by inviting them to his party, but they all refuse because the guy is incredibly annoying. Not satisfied, he challenges Kazuma to a duel for Aqua. Kazuma accepts, and as soon as the fight starts, he ignores every code of samurai honor. While Mitsurugi is busy posing, Kazuma uses steel and swipes the legendary sword right out of the guy's hand. Mitsurugi's party members try to complain, but Kazuma threatens to steal their items too, and they bolt. The next day, the bill comes due. Instead of thanking him for the rescue, Aqua is livid because the cost of the cage Mitsurugi broke was deducted from her reward. When the golden boy shows up again to give another lecture, Aqua herself socks him in the face to demand compensation. To top it off, Mitsurugi discovers that Kazuma already sold his legendary sword to a pawn shop. The episode ends with a town-wide alarm. Beldia is back at the gates, and this time, he's not looking to talk. Tensions are high at the guild. Kazuma discovers that Megumin and Aqua have been heading to the castle every single day to blast Beldia's home with explosions, completely ignoring common sense. Now the Demon King's general is at the city gates demanding satisfaction. The Dullahan is livid, thinking darkness had perished from his curse, but the Crusader appears alive and well, leaving the villain looking dumbfounded, or he would, if his head were actually on his shoulders. Aqua, oozing confidence, mocks him for not realizing the curse was broken and casts Turn Undead. The spell stuns Beldia, who realizes he's dealing with the big leagues. He stops playing around and summons an army of undead knights to massacre the city, the Walking Dead style. Ironically, the zombies ignore the civilians and sprint straight for Aqua, drawn to her holy aura like crazed fans chasing a pop diva. Kazuma and Aqua run in circles to kite the enemies into one spot, setting the stage for Megumin to drop her signature nuclear-level explosion and clear the field. Only the boss remains. Beldia tosses his own head into the air to get an aerial view of the battlefield, acting like a medieval drone. Darkness, trying to be useful without Mitsurugi around, rushes in to tank the boss. The problem? Her aim is worse than a stormtrooper's. Beldia is visibly uncomfortable with her masochism. Kazuma tries using ice magic and even attempts to steal Beldia's sword, but the villain's level is too high. Our strategist then remembers a basic RPG weakness: the undead hate water. They try a few weak splashes, but Beldia dodges them easily, looking like Neo in the Matrix. It's time for the heavy artillery. Kazuma convinces Aqua to use her ultimate move, Sacred Create Water. The result isn't a splash, it's a biblical tsunami that floods the entire city and even knocks down the walls. A drenched and weakened Beldia is hit by Kazuma's steel, who snatches his head like a basketball. Without his head, the body is vulnerable, and Aqua finishes the job by purifying the general once and for all. After the battle, Darkness begins to pray for the fallen adventurers, but she's left embarrassed when she realizes Aqua has already resurrected everyone on the spot with an instant miracle. Everything ends in a celebration at the guild, with Kazuma dreaming of retiring on the multi-million reward for the general's head. But his luck is short-lived. The receptionist informs them that while they did earn a fortune, the bill for the damages caused by Aqua's flood is even larger. Result? Their debt is now astronomical, and the dream of retirement just went down the drain along with the holy water. Winter has arrived with a vengeance in this fantasy world, but there are no Starks here to warn anyone, just freezing cold and mounting debt. While most adventurers are living it up, spending their reward money from the Beldia quest, Kazuma's party is dead broke. That little tsunami Aqua caused left them with an unpayable tab, and Kazuma is desperate for cash, scouring the quest board. Darkness and Megumin, following their usual suicidal instincts, want to hunt one-strike bears and white wolves, basically trying to turn the anime into the Revenant. Kazuma, who values his own neck, vetoes everything and picks a quest that seems harmless: hunting snow spirits. Sounds easy, right? Like level 1 farming in an RPG. They head into the forest geared up for the snow. The strategy is simple. Kazuma slashes them. Aqua bottles them up to use as air conditioning in the summer. And Megumin, well, she blows up 8 at once and faints face first into the snow as usual. Everything was going fine until the spirit's father showed up. The Winter Shogun appears, a secret boss triggered because the group was killing his minions. Darkness, true to her masochistic tank role, is thrilled at the prospect of being pummeled by the boss. She tries to hold him off, but her sword snaps like a twig.
He broke my blade!
Aqua, realizing the difficulty just spiked to Dark Souls levels, releases the captured spirits and orders everyone into the classic pose of ultimate apology, the Dogyaza, prostrating on the ground and begging for their lives. Darkness is too proud for that, so Kazuma rushes over to shove her head into the snow. The problem is, in his panic, he forgets to let go of his sword. The Shogun takes this as a threat, and in the blink of an eye, decapitates the protagonist. That's right, game over for the hero. Kazuma wakes up in that white afterlife room, but this time it's not not Aqua waiting for him. It's Eris, a much kinder and more polite goddess. Kazuma vents his frustrations, complaining about the isekai life and the group of lunatics he carries on his back. The sweet Eris offers to reincarnate him in Japan as a wealthy baby, living the dream. He even cries. Whether out of emotion or a fake longing for his friends, it's hard to tell. But the joy is fleeting. Aqua's voice tears through reality from the other side. She's already used resurrection magic on his body and is picking a fight with Eris to get the kid's soul back. Aqua plays dirty. She threatens to tell everyone that Eris pads her chest if she doesn't open the portal. No deity can stand up to that kind of blackmail. The portal opens and Kazuma is sucked back in. He wakes up in his original body being hugged by a desperate Megumin and darkness, but gratitude is the last thing on his mind. He refuses to thank Aqua and keeps comparing her to the supreme waifu Eris. Back at the guild, they find out Aqua hid a snow spirit to use as a personal fridge. Kazuma tries to sell it to chip away at the debt, but the useless goddess won't let him. In the end, he realizes that as much as Eris is the ideal heroine, he's stuck with this band of misfits. The broke life isn't easy. The party is sleeping in the stables because they don't have a house, and it's so cold that Aqua tries to throw Kazuma's only tracksuit into the fire for warmth. To escape this misery, they visit Wiz's magic item shop. Things heat up immediately. Aqua discovers that the shopkeeper, Wiz, is a witch and a general of the Demon King. The goddess flips out and tries to purify the poor woman on the spot. Kazuma has to restrain Aqua because, unlike Beldia, Wiz is actually a sweetheart, harmless, and only maintains the Demon King's barrier out of obligation. After calming things down and being forced to drink tea, Kazuma asks to learn a new skill. Wiz teaches him Drain Touch, which sucks the energy out of an enemy.
Lady Aqua? Don't do that! It's making my hands burn! No, please don't! I'll disappear! I'll disappear! I don't want it!
As an apology for the chaos, Wiz offers a special quest, exorcising a haunted mansion. The best part? They can live there for free while they do the job. It's their chance to leave the stables and live like the Ghostbusters. They move in and clean the place, but when night falls, the horror begins. Aqua discovers someone drank her expensive bottle of wine and storms through the house in a rage, exorcising any ghost in her path like a holy Pac-Man. Meanwhile, Kazuma wakes up because nature calls. However, the hallway is filled with floating possessed dolls, giving off major Annabelle or The Conjuring vibes. He runs to Aqua's room for help, but only finds Megumin, who is also nearly wetting herself out of fear. With darkness nowhere to be found and Aqua MIA, the two reach a ridiculous stalemate. Who is going to risk the hallway of death to go to the bathroom? The dolls invade the room, and panic sets in. They bolt for the bathroom, fighting over who gets to go first. Megumin starts conjuring explosion right there in the cramped space, which would be the end of everything. Everything stops. Aqua appears, calm as can be, announcing she's already purified all the dolls. The scare is over, but the mystery remains. The next day at the guild, they go to collect the reward. The receptionist explains that the ghosts moved into the mansion because someone placed a magical barrier preventing them from entering the public cemetery nearby. Kazuma looks at Aqua. The penny drops. The genius put up the barrier so she wouldn't have to work purifying the cemetery every day. In other words, she created the problem they were hired to solve. Feeling a sense of shame, they refuse the cash reward. The episode ends with Wiz visiting the grave at the mansion and Kazuma, once again, having to save his tracksuit from becoming firewood for Aqua. The dynamic at the mansion is at its usual level. Megumin and Darkness are playing something that looks like chess but definitely has rules only they understand, and Aqua is pestering Kazuma for the VIP spot on the sofa. The protagonist, realizing that arguing with the goddess of uselessness is like trying to teach quantum physics to a brick wall, gives up the seat out of pure pity. Her intelligence has plateaued at a tragic level. The next day, the vibe shifts from domestic sitcom to secret bro bonding mission. Kazuma finds two random adventurers, Dust and Keith, acting suspicious in an alley. The reason? They're working up the courage to enter a legendary establishment, a succubus-operated cafe. It's like an exclusive club, but instead of espresso, they serve realistic spicy dreams in exchange for a tiny bit of vitality. Kazuma, being no fool, jumps on board. Inside, the operation is professional. The receptionist explains he can choose any scenario for the dream. While most guys ask to dream about someone they know, Kazuma proves he's a man of refined culture and requests an experience with an older, inexperienced woman. He fills out the form with the dedication of someone taking the SATs. Back at the mansion, there's a feast with crabs sent by Darkness's family. Everyone digs in, but when Aqua suggests drinking wine out of the shells, Kazuma refuses. He has a noble reason. He needs to stay sober to hit REM sleep and enjoy the service he ordered. He goes to bed early, but the anticipation is so high he can't sleep. The solution? A relaxing boxing bath to knock him out, and that's when the script turns into an American Pie-style comedy of errors. Kazuma falls asleep in the tub and wakes up to darkness, walking to take a bath. Our hero's brain makes the wrong connection instantly. He thinks the succubus's service has started and that this is the dream. With the confidence of an oil tycoon, he starts bossing darkness around, ordering her to scrub his back.
Well, don't just sit there. Come on over here and scrub my back.
The Crusader, who we already know enjoys a 50 Shades of Grey level of humiliation, is incredibly embarrassed and terrified the other girls will walk in, but she obeys. Kazuma is living the dream, treating the warrior like a maid, until reality hits him like a truck. Aqua starts screaming that there's an intruder in the house. Kazuma runs into the hallway and discovers the tragic truth. He wasn't dreaming at all. The novice succubus who came to deliver the package got stuck in the magical barrier that genius Aqua put around the mansion. Realizing he just screwed up, Kazuma does the only logical thing. He helps the succubus escape and lies through his teeth. The girls think he's been bewitched and beat the living daylights out of him. The next day, he tries to maintain the facade that he was being controlled, but he quickly flips the script and blames darkness for the awkward situation in the bathroom. The tension is interrupted by the city siren. The guild manager announces that the Mobile Fortress Destroyer, a colossal moving stronghold, is headed their way to level everything. It seems Kazuma's peace lasted shorter than a dying phone battery. Chaos has broken out in Axel. Luna is on the loudspeakers ordering everyone to evacuate because the destroyer is essentially Godzilla in the form of a giant mechanical spider. Aqua and Megumin already have their bags packed in an every man for himself frenzy, but Kazuma stands his ground. He just got a mansion with a fireplace, a tub, and a roof. He's not letting a giant robot turn his real estate investment into rubble. He decides to fight for his dream home. At the guild, there's an emergency meeting. Think the Avengers, but on a low budget. Kazuma, using his gamer cunning, devises a plan to stop the machine. While the others set up barricades, Darkness finally comes clean about her past. She confesses to Kazuma that she is a noble of the Dustiness family and that it is her duty to protect the city. Basically, she's the rich girl who ran away to become a masochistic adventurer. The battle begins and, surprisingly, Aqua is useful. She stands on the ramparts and uses a sacred spell to break the destroyer's magical barrier. With the shield down, Megumin and Wiz unleash as many explosions as possible on the robot's legs. The machine grinds to a halt. Everyone cheers, thinking the day is saved, popping champagne, until the robot announces its self-destruct sequence. A classic. If I can't win, no one can. Instead of running, Darkness sees the perfect opportunity to take damage and charges toward the exploding robot. The other adventurers see this, take it for an act of pure heroism, and follow her lead. Of course, half of them are just trying to save the succubus cafe that's in the blast path, but it's the thought that counts. Kazuma, Aqua, and Wiz infiltrate the robot to try and shut down the core. Inside, they find the creator's diary. The story is ridiculous. The guy was an isekai traveler, just like Kazuma, who built the robot only because he was too lazy to be executed, and ended up dying trapped in his own creation after the robot destroyed the kingdom that funded him. With no time to judge the dead, Wiz uses Drain Touch to suck mana from Kazuma and teleports the power core far away. The problem is, the robot's husk is still on fire and will incinerate the city anyway. To fix this, Kazuma comes up with a human battery scheme. He uses Drain Touch to suck all of Aqua's mana and passes it to Megumin. The Crimson Mage, recharged and overclocked, lets out her second explosion of the day, an unprecedented feat, and turns what's left of the destroyer into cosmic dust, Michael Bay style. The city is saved, and everyone returns to their routine. Days later, officials from the royal capital arrive. Kazuma expects a medal, a key to the city, or a fact check. Instead, the prosecutor, Senna, states that the stone they teleported landed right on top of a powerful lord's mansion and blew it to smithereens.
Order a mass of coronatite to be teleported, did you not? It completely destroyed Lord Aldarp's mansion.
The episode ends with Kazuma being arrested for treason and terrorism. This guy's luck is a roller coaster that only goes down. The protagonist's life has turned into an episode of Law and Order, but without the handsome detective to save the day. After saving the city and accidentally blowing up Governor Aldarp's mansion, our protagonist finds himself facing treason charges brought by prosecutor Senna. The situation was already dire, but his friends find a way to make it worse. Megumin and Darkness attempt to defend him, but their defense basically consists of listing every instance of harassment and and every cringeworthy moment Kazuma has ever presided over. It's like trying to clean a wine stain with gasoline. The guild crowd tries to help by shouting their support, but as soon as Prosecutor Senna threatens to arrest everyone as accomplices, their loyalty evaporates faster than a monthly paycheck. Kazuma tries to pull a chicken run and bolt, but he's captured, cuffed, and thrown into a cell, leaving everyone in shock. The night in prison turns into a comedy of errors. Outside, Megumin and Darkness set off explosions to create a Michael Bay-style distraction so Aqua can break in and rescue the prisoner. But Aqua, being Aqua, hands Kazuma a hairpin, expecting him to be MacGyver and pick a combination lock. When that fails, she brings a saw the next night, but forgets the basics, checking if the box fits through the bars. The goddess is about as subtle as an elephant in a china shop and ends up attracting the guards' attention, while Kazuma simply gives up and goes to sleep. The next day, the interrogation begins with a magical lie detector. Senna starts questioning his origins, and Kazuma is forced to admit he was an antisocial shut-in before becoming a hero. So far, so good. He passes the not a terrorist test. The problem arises when they ask if he has ties to the Demon King's generals. The detector pings instantly because, well, Wiz is literally a general and their friend. The trial begins and quickly devolves into a total train wreck. The character witnesses are everyone Kazuma has ever screwed over: Chris, the pretty boy hero, Mitsurugi, and various other victims. They paint Kazuma as the biggest degenerate in Axel, citing thefts and intimidation. It's basically like having his browser history read aloud to the court. Aqua and Megumin try to object, but the prosecutor throws it back in their faces, pointing out they flooded the city and caused total chaos. Even with the lie detector proving he isn't a terrorist, Governor Aldarp, whose mansion is currently in ruins, pressures the judge. The verdict shifts from innocent to the death penalty in 2 seconds flat. That's when Darkness decides to play her Game of Thrones card. She reveals the Dustiness family crest, proving she's high nobility, and strikes a deal with the sleazy Aldarp. She requests a stay of execution to prove Kazuma's innocence, but in exchange, she owes the corrupt politician a massive favor. Kazuma escapes the guillotine, but the group's assets are seized to pay off a debt that is now astronomical. They head home alive, but poorer than the day they arrived in this world.
Part 2 of my sucky adventure starts now.
Kazuma and Aqua are freezing in their empty mansion. No furniture, no heater, living that luxury poverty life post-bankruptcy. The only new addition is Chomusuke, a black cat with a cross on its forehead that Megumin adopted. The kitty loves everyone except Aqua, proving that animals have a sixth sense for useless people. While they shiver, they worry about Darkness, imagining what kind of twisted favor Aldarp will demand from her. Kazuma's imagination runs wild, assuming she'll actually enjoy the vat, which sends Megumin into a panic. To make matters worse, Prosecutor Senna shows up with community service to chip away at their debt. The mission? Slay giant toads. Yes, the same ones from the first episode. Apparently, Megumin's daily explosions woke them up from hibernation, so it really is the group's fault. On the snowy battlefield, history repeats itself like a nightmare. Aqua gets swallowed by a pink toad, Megumin spends her one spell and also becomes Toad Lunch, and even Prosecutor Senna gets devoured. Kazuma tries to fight with his short sword, but he's useless against the amphibian gang. Just when it looks like the end, a saving light appears. It's Yun Yun, Megumin's self-proclaimed rival, and the only competent person within a 10-mile radius. She fires off a powerful spell and saves everyone, leaving the girls covered in disgusting toad slime. After Aqua and Senna leave, a Mean Girls moment ensues. Megumin, despite being covered in filth, pretends she doesn't know Yun Yun and then accepts a physical brawl challenge. Megumin wins, but in a dirty friend hug move, she smears the slime all over Yun Yun too. Back at the mansion, Kazuma and Megumin rush to the bathroom to wash up. In the rush, they both end up in the tub together. Things get awkward fast as they realize the compromising situation. Aqua gets home, and Kazuma, terrified of being arrested again and ending up on an episode of To Catch a Predator, uses ice magic to lock the door. He screams desperately for Aqua to save him from temptation, which mortally offends Megumin, who hates being treated like a child. In the end, he drains all his mana and can't move. The next day, they head to Wiz's shop to negotiate their debts and run into Yun Yun again. Aqua, always the source of bad ideas, suggests using a friendship crystal that displays embarrassing memories. The idea was to build bonds, but it only serves to humiliate Yun Yun by showing how lonely she was in school. Megumin, seeing her own cringeworthy past on screen, smashes the crystal in a fit of rage. Yun tries to challenge her rival to see who is more physically mature, but Megumin hits her with the ultimate trump card. She claims she's already bathed with a man, declaring herself an adult. Yun runs off crying, and Megumin notches another questionable victory in her book. The adventurer life isn't all glory and isekai dreams. Most of the time, it's just overdue bills and an empty fridge. After days of watching Megumin blow up abandoned castles, Kazuma realizes that selling vegetables and packing milk crates with Aqua isn't going to cut it. He decides to follow a tip from Luna about a newly discovered dungeon, Keel's Dungeon. The plan is simple: get in, grab the loot, get out. Indiana Jones style, but hopefully without the giant rolling boulders. Kazuma tries to go solo stealth mode, banning Megumin because, let's face it, dropping a tactical nuke in a confined space is a suicide mission. He also ditches Dust by giving him a voucher for the Succubus Cafe, effectively eliminating the competition. Kazuma enters the dungeon feeling like Solid Snake, using his detection and night vision skills, but his joy is short-lived. Aqua, who doesn't know the meaning of the word no, sneaks in behind him. The problem isn't just her being there, it's that she literally glows in the dark and attracts every undead in a 5-mile radius, completely tanking Kazuma's stealth build. The first floor has already been picked clean, looking like a supermarket shelf during a Black Friday sale. While Megumin stays outside striking poses for her cat, Shomusuke, Kazuma finds a secret passage to an unexplored area. He jokes about ditching Aqua there, but instant karma strikes in the form of a gremlin attack. As they descend, the vibe turns full The Walking Dead. They find a dead adventurer, and before he can turn into a zombie, Aqua purifies his soul. Kazuma, who didn't bring any anti-ghost gear, gets relentlessly teased by the useless goddess. But as karma would have it, she nearly opens a treasure chest that turns out to be a mimic, only to be saved by Kazuma at the very last second. Then, things go south. Aqua's holy presence acts like a neon sign for the undead. Zombies, skeletons, and ghosts start crawling out of the walls. Aqua actually holds her own, purifying mobs with her god blow, but she falls into a trap that leads them straight to the floor boss, Kyo himself. However, it's a total subversion of tropes. The Lich isn't a world-dominating villain. He tells a tragic backstory worthy of a Nicholas Sparks movie. He was an archmage who fell in love with a king's concubine, fled with her, and locked himself in the dungeon to protect her. Now, he just wants to be purified so he can move on to the afterlife and find his beloved. In a rare moment of competence and empathy, Aqua performs the rite and sets his soul free.
I will be with you shortly, my love.
With the treasure secured, Kazuma realizes Aqua is still a monster magnet. In a master stroke of pure scumminess, he uses the goddess as live bait. While the monsters swarm her, he hightails it out with the gold. Later at the guild, the victory party is in full swing. Yun and Chris show up, and a drunk, debt-free Kazuma reverts to his true self. He screams that life is beautiful. Listening to Aqua barfing in the background, reminded that peace in this world lasts shorter than a dying iPhone battery. The atmosphere in the mansion is worse than a reality show season finale. Everyone is freezing and starving. Kazuma, having lost all patience, gets into a shouting match with Aqua because she tried to burn his iconic green tracksuit for firewood. Not to mention she blew all their money on booze. Kazuma gets his revenge by stealing her divine raiment, leaving the goddess in a state of pure despair. The focus shifts when darkness arrives, dressed like a high society heiress. Her father has arranged a marriage meeting with a man named Walter. Kazuma, in a fit of closeted jealousy, rips up the suitor's photo. However, the moment he realizes that marrying Darkness off means finally getting rid of the Crusader who can't land a single hit, he switches sides instantly. Aqua glues the photo back together using grains of rice and decides to help. The official plan? Ruin the wedding to save their friend. Kazuma's real plan: pawn Darkness off on Walter and kick her out of the party. There's just one problem. Walter isn't a creepy old man or a generic villain. The guy is actually nice, sincere, and a total gentleman. Basically, he's the polar opposite of what Darkness craves. Kazuma and Aqua go undercover as a butler and a maid to oversee the marriage interview. The mission is simple: make Darkness look like a respectable lady, which is borderline impossible. Every time she opens her mouth to say something bizarre, Kazuma hits the back of her neck with freeze magic to shut her up. They stroll through the garden, looking like a scene straight out of Bridgerton, but with 10 times the second-hand embarrassment. Darkness tries to scare Walter off by claiming she and Kazuma sleep and bathe together. Instead of being horrified, Walter finds it modern and praises her honesty. With no options left, Darkness tears her dress and challenges the groom to a duel. Walter accepts, but refuses to strike her, which only makes him more enchanted by her determination. Seeing his plan to marry her off failing, Kazuma steps in. Darkness passes the torch to him, asking him to fight in the groom's place. Here, we see the difference between a noble hero and Kazuma. Our protagonist uses the dirtiest tricks imaginable. He splashes darkness with water, freezes her clothes, and when he starts losing the grapple, he resorts to drain touch. In a desperate move to win, he whispers horrific threats into her ear. The problem? Darkness loves it. She turns bright red. At that exact moment, her father, Ignis, bursts into the room. The scene is so incriminating that Kazuma's execution is ordered on the spot. After explaining it wasn't an order but a duel, Walter, who is actually pretty sharp, realizes he's the odd man out. He calls off the wedding, believing Darkness and Kazuma are truly in love. To make matters worse, Darkness wakes up and, to ensure the suitor stays away for good, drops a bombshell. She claims she's pregnant with Kazuma's child. It's total Jerry Springer chaos.
I have something to confess.
I am pregnant with Kazuma's child.
What the hell are you trying to do? Everyone knows I'm a virgin!
Her father gets emotional, thinking he's going to be a grandfather. Aqua, the gossip, starts spreading the news immediately, and Kazuma descends into a panic, screaming that he's still a virgin. Before he can clear his name, Prosecutor Senna kicks the door down with Megumin in tow, ready to arrest Kazuma yet again. Peace was never an option. She brings news that unidentified monsters are spawning from Keel's dungeon and swarming the outskirts of Axel, and guess whose fault it is? Aqua's, obviously. Our useless goddess left a magic circle inside that's acting as a monster repellent, literally flushing the beasts out toward the city. Terrified of being executed for bioterrorism, Kazuma takes on a mission to investigate the dungeon, mostly just to destroy the evidence of Aqua's incompetence before Senna finds out. Once they arrive, it's a cute version of the apocalypse. Masked dolls that look like something out of a Pixar nightmare are running around, hugging people, and exploding Minecraft creeper style. Aqua, still suffering from PTSD from the last time she set foot in this dungeon, refuses to go in and stays outside with Megumin. That leaves it to Kazuma and Darkness, the tank who tanks everything. She charges ahead, taking explosions to the face like a summer breeze, proving her armor can take more punishment than the thing from the Fantastic Four.
Right then. I shall take the lead in clear.
Deep inside, in Keel's chamber, they find the culprit, a man in a tuxedo and a mask molding clay dolls. This is Vanir, a Duke of Hell, and a general of the Demon King's army. He wants to build a dungeon just to troll adventurers, making them face legal traps only to find a loser note in the treasure chest. Basically, he's an EA Games developer who just wants to see players suffer. Vanir reads Kazuma's mind, discovers Aqua is outside, and makes a classic Mephistophelian villain offer. If Kazuma lets him out to kill the goddess, the boy can stay behind and enjoy the room with Darkness. Our hero, who has the moral compass of a potato, actually hesitates, but Darkness isn't having it and attacks. Since her aim is worse than a stormtrooper's, she misses every swing until Kazuma gives her a little nudge, allowing her to slice Vanir right down the middle. But anime villains never die that easily. Vanir's mask flies off and latches onto Darkness's face, possessing her body Venom style, but without the Tom Hardy charm. The problem for the demon is that Darkness's mind is so warped and resistant that he can't fully control her. It turns into a hilarious internal struggle, with the paladin bravely resisting the pleasure of possession. Kazuma tries to clean up the mess, slaps a seal on the mask, and drags his possessed friend outside for Aqua to purify the damn thing. Outside, things get serious. Vanir takes control, using Darkness's buffed up body to dodge the adventurer's attacks and charges at Aqua. In a panic, Kazuma tries to burn the mask off using basic fire magic, but it's useless. With no other choice, Darkness begs Megumin to drop the atomic bomb on her. It's the definition of a hardcore sacrifice. Megumin casts explosion, and Vanir chooses to be blown up rather than be purified by Aqua.
Madness be unleashed! Burst forth!
As the dust settles, we see that Darkness survived the nuclear blast because she's indestructible. However, the broken mask reveals her darkest secret. Her real name is Lalatina. The shame is so great she wishes she died. Everyone discovers the tough paladin has the name of a rich aunt from a Mexican soap opera. To top it off, because they killed a general of the Demon King, Senna drops all charges and hands over a multi-million reward. Overnight, the party goes from rags to riches, and Kazuma becomes the Scrooge McDuck of Axel, swimming in cash and debt-free. The American dream in a fantasy world finally? Now that Kazuma is loaded, the first stop is Wiz's shop. And surprise, Vanir didn't die. He's there, very much alive, and now works for Wiz. The guy reincarnated into a second life and turned into a ruthless capitalist. He proposes a partnership with Kazuma to sell modern Japanese products in this medieval world. The first item? A kotatsu. If you don't know what that is, imagine a table with a blanket and a heater underneath that acts like a bear trap for lazy people. Kazuma gets in and refuses to leave, turning into a complete vegetable. He reaches a level of sloth so high that even Aqua is disgusted. The girls try everything, ice magic draining his energy, but the guy won't budge. The result? They hurl him and the entire table out the window. Defenestration of Prague style. After being evicted from his own invention, Kazuma goes to the blacksmith to pick up his new weapon. He wanted a full suit of armor, but since he's a wimp, he can't even walk in it. He ends up with just a short katana. Megumin, ever helpful, christens the sword Shunchimaru, a ridiculous name that sticks, leaving Kazuma with egg on his face, looking like he bought his sword in the toy section. But the rich life doesn't last long without action. The group takes a quest to hunt lizard runners, lizards that run like the Roadrunner and are currently in the middle of a frantic mating season. Kazuma's plan is genius. Climb a tree and play Sniper Elite, picking off the leader from a distance. In theory, it's beautiful. In practice, it's a disaster. Aqua attracts the beasts with magic, but Kazuma gets confused trying to identify the king of the lizards and ends up shooting the wrong one. The herd stampedes. Megumin is out of mana because Kazuma drained her earlier, and Darkness and Aqua get trampled like Mufasa in The Lion King, only without the sad part because they can take the hit. Kazuma tries to fix it, aiming for the princess lizard who leaps to kick him out of the tree. He hits the shot midair, but the creature's body slams into the tree so hard that our hero falls and dies again. This time he wasn't decapitated by a legendary monster. He just fell out of a tree and snapped his neck. A death worthy of the Three Stooges. Cut to the afterlife. Kazuma is chatting with Eris again. He's fed up. Rich or not, he always gets screwed. He decides he's going to rage quit the adventurer life and asks to be reincarnated as a baby so he can live a peaceful life without useless goddesses and masochistic paladins. Eris tries to convince him to go back, telling him that Darkness protected Megumin all by herself and that Aqua is already resurrecting his body. Kazuma is immovable, throwing a tantrum until he hears some gossip. Megumin is messing with his body while he's dead. Curiosity and the fear of what the explosion mage might be doing, which is actually drawing lewd doodles on his stomach with a marker, get the better of him. He agrees to go back, proving that not even death can save this guy from the circus that is his life. Things kick off with Vanir going full Shark Tank mode. The demon invades the mansion, walking through Aqua's magic barrier like it's plastic wrap, and drops an irresistible offer on the table. He wants to buy the intellectual property rights to all of Kazuma's modern Japanese inventions. The price? 300 million Eris. Basically, Kazuma just won the lottery without needing the lost numbers. With a bank account fat enough to buy a small country, the party's attitude shifts drastically. Kazuma and Aqua go into full aristocrat mode, sipping tea with their pinkies up and speaking with a politeness that's actually terrifying. Megumin, paranoid as ever, thinks this is some form of psychological torture or revenge for the art she drew on Kazuma's stomach while he was dead. Kazuma, now a lazy tycoon, suggests outsourcing the hero work and paying other adventurers to defeat the Demon King. Megumin is outraged by this lack of shonen spirit, but Aqua is already ready to retire. Mid-argument, with Kazuma still complaining about phantom pains in his neck, the idea of going to Alcanretia, the city of hot springs, comes up. A spa trip to cure the stress seems like the perfect plan. The next day, the logistics turn into a nightmare. Kazuma heads to the carriage terminal, then stops by Wiz's shop to give Vanir a heads up. Once there, we find out Wiz messed up again, barring a shipment of defective magic toilets. Vanir, being the tyrannical boss he is, knocked the girl out in the middle of the shop. He sees the trip as a perfect chance to get rid of his incompetent employee while returning the bad stock, so he ships the unconscious Wiz off with the group. Oh, and Yun Yun shows up at the mansion with gifts, only to find the house empty. The saga of the world's loneliest girl continues. At the terminal, Kazuma has to carry Wiz on his back and uses Darkness as a human battery, draining her life force to resuscitate the shopkeeper.
What the... hello, Kazuma?
When it's time to board, they hit an overbooking issue. A baby red dragon took one of the seats. It's time to let fate decide who travels in comfort and who gets shafted. After some tense rounds of rock, paper, scissors, Aqua loses miserably, despite blessing herself for good luck. The result is the goddess sitting in the luggage compartment outside, taking the wind to the face like a dog in the back of a pickup truck. The first leg of the trip is peaceful, passing through Mad Max-style landscapes, until Kazuma spots a dust cloud. The driver identifies them as running hawkites, buffed-up ostrich monsters that love playing chicken with the hardest thing they can find. And guess what? The hardest thing there isn't the carriage, it's Darkness, who attracts the beasts like a magnet. She denies it, of course, saying it's the armor, but we all know the truth. The caravan stops, and the hired mercenaries step down for a scrap. Kazuma, feeling the weight of guilt and his wealth, leads his team to help. Darkness runs to the front lines. Amid the chaos, another adventurer casts a binding spell on the horde, but she jumps in the way. The paladin is tied up, immobile, watching the horde charge right at her. The adventurer who accidentally trapped her feels guilty, thinking he got in her way, unaware that he actually just fulfilled her weirdest dream. The Hawkites come charging at full speed toward the tied-up Darkness and swerve at the very last second, nearly grazing her.
Stand their onslaught! Oh no! The horror!
For the paladin, this is the peak of excitement. For Kazuma, it's the peak of secondhand embarrassment. Aqua tries to help by buffing Darkness's defense, but the monsters just loop back for another pass. Realizing the game won't end, Kazuma spots a cave and orders everyone back to the carriage. The problem is the evacuation logistics. Darkness is too heavy to carry. Maybe it's that muscle density, or just the armor, and there's no time to untie her. The solution? Tie the paladin to the back of the carriage and drag her down the road. The scene turns into an action movie chase, with the carriage at high speed, monsters on their tail, and Darkness being towed through the dirt, likely enjoying every second of it. Wiz, who finally woke up, or was revived again, uses swamp magic to slow the beast down. Reaching the cave, Kazuma uses his buffed strength to hurl Darkness into the entrance like live bait. It's the perfect setup for Megumin, who lets out a classic explosion, turning the cave and the monsters into barbecue. That night at the camp, the caravan leader wants to reward the group for saving the day, but Kazuma refuses out of pure guilt. He spends the night fixing Darkness's armor, which got completely sanded down after being used as a plow on the road. Meanwhile, Aqua and Wiz become the life of the party. Everything seems calm until Kazuma and Darkness wake up to zombies invading the camp. They run to find Aqua, who is glowing brighter than an LED bulb. The goddess decides to purify the undead with a holy light show, which is beautiful, except for the fact that Wiz is a lich and almost gets ghosted along with the zombies. Kazuma realizes it instantly. The zombies didn't just appear, they were attracted by Aqua's divine aura, which is basically a lighthouse for nocturnal monsters. He keeps his mouth shut, mentally apologizes to the caravan, and refuses the reward again. Meanwhile, back in Axel, poor Yun Yun visits the empty mansion once more. Someone give this girl a hug. Finally, they arrive in Alcanretia. The place is beautiful, but there's a major problem. It's the headquarters of the Axis Order, the religion that worships Aqua, and the followers here are unbearable. They're like pyramid scheme salesmen or the people who corner you at the mall to sell you a life coach course. They swarm the group, trying to convert everyone. After checking into the inn and leading Wiz, who fainted again after the purification and needed another life drain, to rest, the rest of the group goes out for a walk. The city is a minefield of conversion scams. The cultists use every cheap tactic in the book to get signatures. When Darkness reveals she follows the goddess Eris, the locals spit on the ground in disgust, which of course leaves Darkness enchanted by the hostile treatment. Kazuma's patience is already at zero with the religious harassment. The final straw is when a cute little girl comes up with a sob story to trick him into signing a conversion form. The ex-NEET shows no mercy, lays into the kid, and proves that in Alcanretia, you can't even trust your own shadow. In Alcanretia, the capital of religious insanity, our favorite ex-NEET decides the best strategy is to go straight to the source of the problem, the main cathedral of the Axis Order. Kazuma enters the confessional not to seek forgiveness, but to scold the useless goddess. He gives it to her straight. Aqua needs to control her fanatic sheep, but Aqua, being Aqua, flips the script and forces Kazuma to confess his sins. The conversation backfires when he starts listing every scummy thing he's done to her, making the goddess cry louder than a toddler who lost their candy candy in a supermarket. The scene gets weirder when an old cultist enters to confess he was tempted by the attributes of the goddess Eris. That's when Aqua drops the divine tea of the century. Eris's chest is fake, pure padding. Now that's celestial fake news. The old man leaves happy with the info, and Aqua explains to Kazuma that unfortunately, she needs these crazies. It's RPG logic. The more fanatic devotees, the more mana and power the goddess has. It's basically a toxic relationship between a celebrity and their fandom. Back at the inn, the vacation vibes go down the drain. Wiz is already bathed, and Kazuma can't convince Darkness or Megumin to get into the mixed bath with him. The result? A literal sausage fest in the hot water. There, he meets a grumpy guy named Hans, who complains about the local sect. Their bromance moment is interrupted when the city's masseurs show up. These guys don't give massages. They perform medieval torture while trying to convert you. Kazuma and Hans leave the place traumatized. Undeterred in his quest to be a classic anime perv, Kazuma goes back to the springs and listens to the girls on the other side of the wall. Megumin and Darkness sense his presence and, in a masterstroke, start faking a Yuri scene just to bait the idiot. Kazuma falls for it hook, line, and sinker, leans against the fence to peek, and boom! Darkness, with her absurd strength, smashes through the wall and sends Kazuma flying. What follows is a ridiculous pitched battle. They throw everything they can find, and Kazuma fights back using water creation magic. In the middle of the chaos, Aqua appears crying acid. Literally, her tears are burning Wiz. The reason for the tears? Aqua was banned from the city's secret hot springs. Her divine touch purified the water, turning the medicinal springs into plain old hot tap water. The spring keeper got pissed and kicked the goddess out of her own city. The next day, Aqua comes up with a conspiracy theory. The Demon King's army is poisoning the water to bankrupt the city. Nobody believes her, obviously. Kazuma and Megumin go for a walk and see Hans having a solo meltdown, until he flees upon seeing Wiz. Meanwhile, Aqua tries to warn the people in the central plaza. The scene is pathetic. She screams that the water is poisoned, reveals she's their goddess, and nobody cares. Worse, the crowd turns aggressive because she ruined the springs with her purification. The episode turns into a zombie movie, with the fanatic mob surrounding the inn at night, ready to lynch their own goddess for being an imposter. The situation at the end went from Zero to The Walking Dead real fast.
Did my adoring followers decide to believe me and come to apologize?
There she is!
She's a witch impersonating our goddess!
To escape the lynch mob, Aqua improvises a hot air balloon using her divine raiment, classic cartoon escape style. They soar toward the mountains to investigate the main source. Upon arrival, the guards block their path, but Aqua flashes Darkness's family crest. The noble card works like a charm, and they're in. At the main spring, the mystery is solved. That grumpy guy, Hans, is there dumping poison into the water. Wiz recognizes him immediately. He's not just an annoying tourist, he's a general of the Demon King's army. Even worse, he's a deadly poison slime. For anyone who plays RPGs, slimes are usually level 1 fodder, but this guy is the final boss. Wiz explains the hardcore rules of engagement. If the slime swallows and digests you, there's no resurrection. It's a permanent game over. The stakes escalate quickly. An angry mob of cultists is swarming the mountain to get Aqua. Hans reveals he's already devoured the spring's caretaker and assumes his true form, a massive, toxic blob of purple sludge. Wiz, usually the group's pacifist, realizes Hans broke the treaty by attacking civilians and flips the switch into battle mode. Chaos ensues. Hans turns into a full-blown kaiju, spraying poison everywhere. Aqua panics, running back and forth trying to purify the water. The mob arrives and, seeing the giant monster, finally buys the story, or at least decides they hate the monster more than her. However, throwing rocks at a giant slime does nothing. Megumin wants to drop an explosion, but doing so would spray poison across the entire mountain, killing everyone. It's an acid-drenched Mexican standoff. Kazuma, with his eagle eye, notices the caretaker's skeleton is still intact inside Hans's gelatinous body. If the body is there, Aqua can resurrect him. Kazuma's plan is insane. He intentionally lets himself be devoured, serving as live bait to mark the target. He's dissolved down to his bones, a horrific death for the record, but it lures Hans's core to a specific spot, showtime, with the target marked by Kazuma's sacrifice. Megumin unleashes a surgical explosion inside the monster, incinerating most of his mass without blowing up the whole mountain. Wiz finishes him off by freezing what's left. Hans, now reduced to the size of a pet amoeba, tries to flee, but Aqua is beyond livid. Empowered by the insane faith of her followers cheering nearby, the goddess unleashes God Requiem. It's a Mortal Kombat-style finishing move, obliterating the villain once and for all. In the aftermath, Aqua resurrects Kazuma, who must have a loyalty card for the afterlife by now, and the caretaker. The springs are saved. Well, they've been purified into ordinary water, which ruins the town's tourism anyway. As thanks, the party is essentially kicked out of Alcanretia. In the carriage home, there's a sense of mission accomplished, sort of. They arrive at the mansion, where Yunyun continues her eternal saga of loneliness, and Kazuma just wants to sleep for a week. The most stressful vacation in history is finally over. Kazuma is writing a letter to his parents, painting a gorgeous picture where he's the supreme hero of this parallel world, surrounded by fans and girls dying to marry him. You know that super inflated LinkedIn profile? Exactly like that. But reality bites, or rather pokes, him in the rear in the form of a traumatic nightmare involving Sylvia and something prodding him from behind.
I like you. I love you. And it's all on purpose!
The trauma is so deep the guy wakes up in a cold sweat. The next day, the PTSD is still going strong. Kazuma is jumpier than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, getting spooked by anyone approaching from behind, including poor Dust at the guild. The paranoia is so bad he makes a drastic decision. He's becoming a monk. That's right. He wants to quit the adventurer life and join a monastery to escape his fame. Read, the fear of being hunted by love-struck chimeras. Aqua tries to push the Axis order on him, but he rejects it with every fiber of his being. Determined to find spiritual enlightenment, or just peace of mind, he grabs a tourist pamphlet and sets off. Naturally, the troubled trio follows. Aqua, being Aqua, spends the whole trip mocking his resolve, saying it's as sturdy as a roadside mountain. Megumin tries to mediate by reminiscing about the old days, but Kazuma slips up and calls her a lowly character. Huge mistake. The girl simply drops an explosion and evaporates the very mountain Aqua used as an example. Argument settled with gunpowder, Michael Bay style. At camp that night, Kazuma tries to impress the girls with stories of glorious battles from his world, which are actually just his all-night MMORPG marathons. When everyone goes to sleep, a rare moment occurs. Kazuma and Megumin are on watch duty. As the girl starts acting intimate, Kazuma, feeling like this is the moment of truth, gathers all his courage to confess, only to realize she fell asleep mid-conversation. His revenge? Waking her up in the least gentle way possible. The next day, the group finds a wounded little girl by the side of the road. Kazuma's enemy detection rings louder than a car alarm, signaling it's a monster in disguise. He warns them it's a tranquility girl, a creature that must be eliminated on sight. But the creature's charm is Puss in Boots level, and the girls fall for the act immediately, ignoring his warnings. Kazuma tries to maintain his cold-blooded killer persona, but even he wavers when the monster uses a high-pitched child's voice. He decides to walk away, but his conscience nags him. He turns back, thinking of striking a deal, only to catch her in the act. The little girl is practicing her acting and unearthing the remains of a previous victim. It's basically a glitched NPC revealing its psychopathic side. Kazuma, now seeing red, eliminates the threat without mercy.
Can you pretend not hear anything?
You can talk perfectly this entire time, you dumbass!
From the victim's body, he recovers a small hammer. Plot twist, the hammer drops gold coins every time it's swung. Forget the monk life. Capitalism wins. They head back to Axel happy as larks, ready to live like Scrooge McDuck, but the joy is short-lived. At the city gates, Chris sprints past them like the Flash, and in the blink of an eye, the hammer is gone. No honor among thieves. Back at the mansion, Kazuma is having a total meltdown over the lost magic item. Amidst the chaos, a fancy invitation arrives for Darkness. It's from Princess Iris, who wants to hear the stories of the great hero who defeated the Demon King's generals. Darkness, knowing her friends lack any social graces, tries to hide the letter to avoid a social disaster, but Kazuma snatches it, to the masochistic crusader's despair. The rest of the group sees this as their golden ticket to the high life. The circus is going to the palace. Kazuma is already imagining Princess Iris as one of those cute anime little sisters. In exchange for wearing formal clothes, he forces Darkness to wear a maid outfit, but the masochist enjoys the humiliation so much it backfires, making Kazuma deeply uncomfortable. Before the big meeting, they stop by Wiz's shop. Kazuma, showing off his Shark Tank entrepreneur side, is selling lighters and products based on his knowledge of Japan. While Darkness and Megumin get freebies, Aqua is charged full price because she hasn't helped at all. Outraged, the goddess starts a magic show in front of the shop, drawing a crowd but annoying Vanir. In the end, it actually helps sales. Vanir, being a top-tier troll, gives Kazuma a mask identical to his and drops some jabs about his relationship with Megumin. Royal dinner day arrives. Kazuma is in a suit, feeling like James Bond bond. While Darkness is on the verge of a nervous breakdown trying to ensure Megumin doesn't blow anything up, and Aqua isn't, well, Aqua. They meet Princess Iris, and she is exactly the angelic figure Kazuma expected. The problem is her bodyguard Claire, who has the charm of a drill sergeant, and immediately barks at Kazuma for looking at the princess. When it's time for stories, Kazuma does what he does best. He lies. He transforms his life as a shut-in NEET into an epic saga of a tragic, victorious hero, leaving the princess fascinated. Claire, however, is sharper and asks to see his adventurer's card. The mood gets tense because Kazuma's skills, like steel, aren't exactly heroic. Darkness saves the day by covering for him. The friction scales up when Claire and Iris start praising Mitsurugi, that magic sword guy Kazuma humbled early on. Kazuma's ego can't take it and he scoffs at the golden boy. Claire draws her sword, ready to slice the disrespectful guest. Then, the unthinkable happens. Darkness jumps in and slaps Princess Iris. The room freezes. Darkness defends Kazuma's honor with a fiery speech, claiming he doesn't reveal how he beat Mitsurugi out of humility. Little does she know. To prove his point, Kazuma agrees to demonstrate his legendary technique on Claire. He uses steel, and of course, what ends up in his hand isn't a sword, but the woman's wear.
Huh? Sorry. You can, I think these are yours?
Despite the chaos, Claire is impressed by Darkness's resilience and Aqua's healing, who was drunk but still healed the Crusader's arm. Iris, showing she has a backbone, apologizes and asks for more stories. The group says their goodbyes as the royals prepare to teleport back to the castle, but Kazuma, master of the Silver Tongue, mentions he'd love to tell more stories next time. Iris takes him literally. In a surprise move, she grabs Kazuma and pulls him into the magic circle with her. Kazuma is kidnapped by the princess to the royal castle. Claire bursts into the room ready to catch him in the act, but finds a scene that would give any social worker a heart attack. Kazuma isn't doing anything illegal, technically, but he's narrating a true crime style fanfic about the time Darkness took a bath in front of him. Princess Iris is listening with the rapt attention of someone binge-watching a Netflix series, fascinated by the protagonist's total lack of shame. Claire tries to censor the content, but the princess wants to know how it ends. To make it worse, Kazuma switches tapes and starts telling her about the humiliating game he won against Darkness. Then we find out the truth. Kazuma wasn't kidnapped Taken style, but Guy is living in the lap of luxury. Rain, the royal mage, explains he is an official guest and that this kidnapping was just Iris's little way of getting back at Darkness. Kazuma, seeing the soft bed, good food, and a cute princess who treats him well, decides he doesn't want to be rescued. He asks them to notify his party, but his desire to return to the stables is zero. Life at the castle turns into a comedy where the babysitter is a bad influence. Kazuma tells stories about Japanese school festivals, and Iris dreams of going to school, high school musical style. Mid-chat, the city alarm blares. The Demon King's army is attacking. Claire rushes into battle, leaving the kids behind. Iris, with a maturity beyond her years, explains that in times of war, there's no time for playing school. Surprisingly, the attack is repelled faster than a YouTube ad. Kazuma, relieved he didn't have to fight, thinks about leaving while he's ahead, but Iris plays dirty. She says her older brother used to talk just like Kazuma. Our hero's heart, a total sucker for praise and affection, melts. He decides he's living in the castle forever. The good life continues. He becomes the princess's official playmate, leaving Claire fuming. He teaches Iris how to play with a bamboo copter and, showing his true questionable character, plays a board game against the child, losing everything and refusing to stop until he wins once.
So you want to win and run, is that it? I thought you were playing this for real! Don't start holding back just because you want to stop playing either! I can tell if you lose on purpose, understand me?
When he finally wins, he acts insufferably arrogant. Iris, who lives in an ivory tower, confesses she wants to travel and see the world, but her suffocating security won't allow it. 1 week into this luxury, the dream ends. The Suicide Squad, Darkness, Megumin, and Aqua storm the room. Kazuma tries to act like a lecherous noble with the maid, but comes face to face with Darkness's fury. They came to rescue their friend, but he kicks and screams, claiming he's a castle employee. Aqua gets jealous of the luxury, and Darkness has to beg Iris to release Kazuma, or else his fans and Axel will worry. A saddened Iris agrees. For the farewell, there's a fancy royal banquet, Met Gala style, but with actual food. Aqua and Megumin eat like they're at an all-you-can-eat pizza joint, embarrassing Kazuma, who tries to act sophisticated. Suddenly, Darkness is swarmed by a bunch of noble simps asking for her hand in marriage. That's when Aldarp appears, that greasy, corrupt noble who looks like a 90s cartoon villain, dismissing everyone and saying only a prince is good enough for her. Kazuma, fueled by jealousy and alcohol, decides to mark his territory. He calls Darkness by her real name and in front of the kingdom's elite, blabs that they have a love is blind level of intimacy. Darkness, in a total panic to save face, grabs Kazuma and twists his arm right there in the ballroom, silencing him with physical violence. Later on the balcony, Iris finds a depressed Kazuma with a sore arm. She confesses she's jealous of Darkness for being able to stay close to him. Kazuma's ego inflates instantly. She mentions a noble thief who steals from the rich to give to the poor, and says she wishes she could be an adventurer like that. Kazuma has an epiphany. If he catches this thief, he'll be a national hero and can live in the castle forever. He runs back into the hall shouting that he'll catch the thief. The nobles applaud, pretending they aren't corrupt. Claire, wanting to see the circus burn and Kazuma fail, assigns him to stake out the home of the next likely victim. And to everyone's misfortune, that victim is Aldarp. Nobody likes the plan, but the mission is accepted.
Damn it, how the hell did I end up here?
The stakeout mission at Aldarp's mansion begins with the cozy atmosphere of a homeowners association meeting gone horribly wrong. The corrupt noble grumbles that his home isn't a hotel, while Megumin, ever the diplomat, nearly blows the man to kingdom come. Aldarp, being the massive creep he is, tries to hit on Darkness, offering her an unlimited stay. Kazuma and the girls, never ones to pass up a free ride, accept the offer instantly, moving into the best rooms and leaving the host looking like a total fool. During the first night of surveillance, Kazuma prowls the mansion trying to play detective, but instead stumbles upon Aldarp in a secret room cleaning a massive mirror. This isn't Snow White's mirror, it's a voyeuristic magic mirror that peers into the maid's bathroom. Instead of arresting the man, Kazuma realizes he's found a kindred spirit in perversion. They begin negotiating viewing rights, like two black market dealers, until Darkness bursts in, shatters the mirror, and puts an end to the creep's party. The stakeout turns into a full-blown vacation. Megumin confesses she's been worried about Kazuma because he dies practically every other day. In a rare moment of sweetness, she asks him out on a date. But since this is Megumin, the date consists of taking her to a remote field so she can fire off an explosion spell. Kazuma spends his days carrying the collapsed mage back home, bitterly regretting not investing her skill points into advanced mana capacity. Meanwhile, Aqua drains Aldarp's wine cellar and gets the staff wasted, turning the mansion into a frat party. Finally, on the fateful night, Kazuma hears a noise in the kitchen. Using his lurking and thief skills, he pounces on the intruder. The thief is a girl, and the voice is familiar. When the mask falls, it's Chris, their thief friend.
Wait a minute, are you?
Hang on. Where have I heard that voice before?
Hey, is that you, Kazuma? Listen, you really need to watch where you're putting your hand.
Chris explains she can't afford to be caught. Kazuma, wanting to avoid the hassle and knowing Aldarp would do terrible things to her, decides to help his friend. He asks Chris to use her bind skill on him so it looks like he fought bravely and lost. Chris ties Kazuma up on the floor and flees. It was the perfect plan, if only Kazuma's party wasn't the worst in the world. The girls arrive and find Kazuma bound. Instead of freeing him, Aqua starts apologizing for every time she's messed with him, thinking he's suffering. Darkness and Megumin take advantage of his helplessness to bully him, stuffing pudding into his mouth and forcing the poor guy to apologize for existing. By the time Aldarp arrives with the guards, the humiliation is complete. The next day, the report at the castle is a disaster. Claire verbally massacres Kazuma, and he is officially kicked out of the royal inner circle. Princess Iris tries to defend him, arguing that the theft was prevented, but it doesn't fly. Back to his life as a commoner, Kazuma goes shopping with Aqua and runs into Mitsurugi, the magical sword guy everyone forgets. He tries to give Aqua a diamond ring, but the goddess is so scatterbrained she thinks the ring is too small and doesn't even remember who he is. Kazuma, petty as ever, is green with envy. That night, back at the inn, Chris breaks into Kazuma's room. He tries to grab her again, because he's incorrigible, but she's there for serious business. She reveals she is hunting the divine relics, the cheat items that reincarnated Japanese people brought to this world. Chris wants Kazuma to help her steal a relic located inside the royal castle. Kazuma panics. Robin Iris's castle? No way. He kicks Chris out of the room. He just wants a quiet life, and as if the universe wanted to laugh in his face, the city alarm blares again. Another attack from the Demon King's army. Darkness wants to fight. Megumin wants to blow things up. Aqua and Kazuma want to hide under the covers. But then, Kazuma's capitalist brain sparks. If he performs a heroic deed in this battle, he clears his name, regains his fame, and might even get back into the castle. Driven by the most selfish motivation possible, he dons his armor, grabs a crying Aqua by the collar, and drags everyone to the front lines. It's showtime, and this time, it's personal and financial. The royal capital is in a state of total panic, looking like New York in an Avengers movie, awaiting a massive assault from the Demon King's army. Kazuma, trying to play the hero and lead his party to the front lines, is blocked at the guild entrance because his level is pathetic. It's the classic humiliation of being rejected at the VIP club entrance. However, Claire appears and grants him entry, reminding everyone that the guy has, against all odds, defeated several enemy generals. The crowd goes wild. Princess Iris watches with sparkling eyes from the balcony, and Kazuma tastes glory, until Aqua opens her mouth and says they'll probably lose because of Megumin at Darkness's idiocy. Cut to Kazuma sitting in front of Eris, in that divine office that has become his second home. Yes, he died. After an awkward silence, he tries to explain. He used snipe on a kobold biting Aqua, but the goddess snapped and started brawling with high-level monsters. Kazuma, trying to pick off a straggler, fell into a Walking Dead-style ambush and was beaten to death by a gang of weak mobs.
What with my Chunchumaru? I'll end.
Eris, standing right there, snitches that he died because of bad karma for harassing her followers. Kazuma defends himself by saying he mistook Chris for a man because she's flat as a board, which infuriates Eris, who isn't exactly well endowed herself. After a moral beatdown, Eris gives him a mission: recover the divine relics, the cheat items Aqua handed out like Halloween candy to the Japanese reincarnated. Back to life, revived by Aqua, who runs off to revive other soldiers, Kazuma reflects on the dangerous items. One summons monsters and the other swaps bodies. Meanwhile, the battle ends. Darkness is praised for tanking everything, looking like a concrete wall, and Megumin is carried out as the MVP for turning the enemy commander into stardust. Later, at the castle victory banquet, Iris calls him Big Brother, leaving Megumin seething with jealousy. In a luxury suite, Iris shows him a magic necklace with Japanese writing on the back. Kazuma, the only one who reads sushi and anime fluently, reads it aloud. The necklace glows and, bam! A Freaky Friday happens. Kazuma and Iris swap bodies. They realize they can't swap back just by repeating the word. Kazuma, now in the body of a delicate princess, thinks it's great and plans to live like this forever. Iris, in Kazuma's body, is thrilled to go on adventures as an adventurous man. Megumin, worried about what the princess might do with Kazuma's body, decides to go along to teach the noblewoman how to haggle and start street fights. While Iris is out living the thug life in the city, Kazuma stays at the castle abusing his power. He struts through the halls receiving bows and orders Claire to write in the history books that Kazuma was a magnificent hero. Then Mitsurugi, the generic cursed sword hero, appears. He tries to pat Iris on the head, and Kazuma, in her body, threatens to have him executed for disrespect.
Oh, Claire, this knave brazenly touched my hair. I want him executed.
You've been acting so strangely.
Mitsurugi flees in terror. He notices Darkness is missing and finds out she went to take a bath. Kazuma, in Iris's body, sprints to the bathroom and insists on washing the Crusader's back. Claire tries to stop him, but Kazuma offers to wash her back too, and the bodyguard accepts far too quickly. In the bathroom, Darkness and Claire strip down, but the universe hates Kazuma. Just as he's undressing and about to see everything, the necklace's effect wears off. He snaps back into his original body instantly, except his body isn't in the bath. It's in the middle of the street, surrounded by massive thugs that Iris, while in his body, provoked. Kazuma doesn't even have time to process. He wakes up from his dream straight into a punch to the face. Kazuma has gone from 0 to 100 on the disaster scale. While he's getting beaten up in the street back at the castle, Princess Iris realizes she's back in her body, completely naked and about to step into a bath. Her scream echoes through the kingdom. Later, at the banquet, the mood is like a funeral for our protagonist. Aqua scolds him, the nobles glare, and a furious Claire banishes him from the capital. He has until dawn to leave. In his room at the inn, Kazuma is whining about his luck when Chris appears through the window. He tries to refuse the mission again, but she drops a bombshell. The body swap necklace can grant immortality. If an old noble swaps bodies with a young person and kills the original body, the swap becomes permanent. It's basically the movie Get Out Fantasy Edition. They must steal the necklace to prevent corrupt politicians from living forever. Operation Low Budget Mission Impossible begins. Chris and Kazuma don black gear and masks. Kazuma wears the mask he bought at Veneer's shop. They play rock, paper, scissors to see who leads, and Kazuma loses for the first time in his life. He's the sidekick. They infiltrate the castle using ropes and thief skills. Everything goes well until Kazuma uses his enemy detection skill and, accidentally, pins Chris against the wall and grabs her.
Hey, assistant, since you have the lurk skills, do we really need to stick so close together like this?
This is no time to be careless, boss.
She screams and boom, the element of surprise is trashed. The guards arrive. A chase through the corridors ensues. Kazuma uses water magic to freeze the floors, making the soldiers slide around like a Looney Tunes cartoon. But then Claire and Rain appear, blocking the way. Chris wants to run, but Kazuma, remembering the sweet moments with Iris and knowing he's already being exiled, decides to take the mission seriously. He stops running and prepares to fight. Kazuma uses Drain Touch on Claire, sucking her mana until she faints, leaving everyone shocked. He adopts an arrogant persona because of the mask and calls himself part of the silver-haired thief group, pinning the blame on Chris. Mitsurugi appears again, cuts through the traps, and charges Kazuma, expecting him to use steel on the cursed sword Graham. The generic hero grips the sheath tight, but Kazuma uses Create Water inside the sheath and freezes it. The sword is stuck. Mitsurugi slips on the ice, and Kazuma finishes him off by forcing water down his throat. Total humiliation. They reach Iris's bedroom door. Darkness is there on guard. She instantly realizes who the thieves are, but pretends not to. The princess exits her room, sword in hand, ready for a fight, but Megumin gets in the way. Kazuma binds them both, but a drunk Aqua, wanting the reward money for wine, dispels his magic. With reinforcements closing in, the plan becomes grab and go. Kazuma and Chris agree to use steel on Iris the moment they enter. Darkness, in a moment of brilliance, misses and attack on purpose to clear their path. They lung at Iris, trigger steel, and dive from the tower into the castle moat, while Aqua unsuccessfully tries to seal them. It's a full-on action movie sequence. Back at the inn, Darkness is furious, squeezing their heads.
Let go of my head! You're gonna do some serious damage!
I didn't want to, but she forced me into it! This was all Chris's idea, huh?
Excuse me? What is your...
They got the necklace, but Kazuma stole something extra, a ring. And not just any ring, the royal engagement ring Iris is supposed to give her future husband. If he returns it, he's dead. If they find it, he's dead. The solution? He has to keep the ring hidden forever. At the official farewell the next day, Iris knows exactly who they were. She mentioned she liked the masked thief, and felt he did it to protect her. Megumin is bursting with pride for her thief. Darkness formally introduces Kazuma as the man who will defeat the Demon King, ensuring he isn't arrested. In the end, back at the mansion in Axel, Kazuma complains that Iris didn't ask him to stay. What he doesn't know is that, at the castle, Iris is calm about the stolen ring. There is an ancient tradition. The hero who defeats the Demon King marries the princess. She hopes he takes good care of the ring. Basically, Kazuma proposed to the princess without knowing it. Oh, and in a dark basement, Algarp is beating a subordinate, furious that his plan for immortality went down the drain with the stolen necklace. The villain remains in the shadows, plotting. Think lottery winner spending like there's no tomorrow. After defeating Sylvia, the party pocketed a 300 million heiress bounty, and our protagonist is feeling like the Wolf of Wall Street. He's buying rounds for the entire guild, soaking up the praise, and his ego is inflating faster than a balloon. A week later, the ostentation continues. Kazuma and Aqua are at a high-end restaurant, the kind that serves microscopic portions for astronomical prices. They're playing food critics like MasterChef judges, complaining about the chef and pretending to understand fine ingredients. It's peak secondhand embarrassment. They leave feeling like the elite, tossing tips around and looking for the next expensive place to burn cash. Reality hits when they return to the mansion. The living room feels like a sauna. Darkness is wrapped in a thick blanket, sweating buckets, while Megumin tries to tempt her with ice. It looks like a torture scene, but Darkness is clearly enjoying it. Kazuma and Aqua assume it's just a new and ignore it. But the truth is the Crusader is training her heat resistance. Kazuma, being the great friend he is, takes the chance to tickle her as revenge for the trauma he endured at Aldarp's mansion. Meanwhile, we find out where Aqua blew her share of the gold. She bought a magic egg from a shady merchant, swearing it's a dragon. She even named it Emperor Zell. Kazuma looks at the egg, looks at Aqua, and realizes instantly the goddess of wisdom, not really, paid a fortune for a common chicken egg. It's the oldest scam in the book, but she's there, incubating it with magic power, convinced that Godzilla is about to hatch. The next day, the obsession continues. Megumin is forced to exit so the group can head to Wiz's magic shop to collect some payments. There, they find Vanir absolutely livid. He's put Wiz into labor camp mode to stop her from buying more useless junk and bankrupting the shop. The Lich is working so hard she's having hallucinations, looking like a retail employee on Black Friday. The mood shifts when Vanir decides to read Darkness's future. The demon drops a bombshell. A calamity will befall the Dustiness family. Her father will suffer.
Disaster awaits your family home and your father.
She will try to sacrifice herself to fix it, and it will all go wrong. Vanir's advice? take Kazuma and run far away. Essentially, he's telling her to ditch the main plot for a romantic side quest. But Darkness, stubborn as a mule, refuses. She returns home worried, and Vanir gives Kazuma a tip. Create more products to sell. You're gonna need the money to help that blonde girl later. The prophecy begins to move. Darkness returns to the mansion desperate, begging Kazuma to take a quest. Kill the Kowloon Hydra. It's a legendary monster sleeping in a lake near the city. Kazuma, now a smug bourgeois, wants nothing to do with fighting, but Darkness pleads, cries, and even promises a kiss, which Kazuma dismisses with class. In the end, she wins by pure attrition and tears. The plan? Use Aqua to purify the lake and lure the monster out. The party arrives. Megumin is dying to become a dragon slayer, and Aqua dives in. But when the Hydra wakes up, it's not just a monster. It's the size of an island. This is Pacific Rim level stuff. Aqua gets stuck on the monster's head, screaming for help, while in the distance, the villain Aldarp smirks at a portrait of Darkness. The board is set, and it smells like a political coup. A classic opening. Kazuma is dead. Again. Eris is there mocking him in the afterlife, imitating a JRPG game over screen just for the hell of it. But since Aqua is in the world of the living, the respawn is guaranteed. Kazuma wakes up, but the situation is wretched. He was digested by the Hydra. His clothes melted off, and he's covered in gross slime, stark naked in the middle of a field. After returning to the city wrapped in capes and enduring public shame, they discover why the quest is so hard. The Royal Knights, who should be hunting the Hydra, are busy. Why? They're hunting the silver-haired thieving group. Kazuma sees the wanted poster with his masked face and Chris, and his stomach drops. The irony is delicious. He can't get official help because the police are looking for him because of that castle heist.
We're stolen.
Holy crap. I've got a bounty on my head like a Devil King General.
Wait a minute.
The situation tightens. Darkness needs to kill the Hydra urgently, likely to pay off debts or help her father, and starts going to the lake every day to get beaten by the monster. She becomes a daily punching bag, returning broken for Aqua to heal, and Kazuma to repair her armor. It's a cycle of self-destruction Kazuma can't stand to watch anymore. He decides to act like the leader of this dysfunctional party. Kazuma rallies the adventurers of Axel. They set up traps, ballistae, and steel cables. On the day of the fight, Darkness serves as bait, the role she was born for. While the Hydra tries to chew on the paladin, the adventurers pin down its heads. Kazuma uses a human trampoline to launch himself onto the Hydra's back, using Drain Touch to suck the mana out of the beast and kill its regeneration. The scene goes insane. The Hydra slams its back into the ground to crush Kazuma, WWE style. Darkness sees the danger and throws herself on top of Kazuma, holding the colossal weight of the monster with her own body. It's her most heroic and bizarre moment yet, but it's not all sunshine. Dust, that delinquent adventurer, tries to steal the kill to look like a hero and gets swallowed whole. No time for mourning, Yun uses her magic to slice off the head that ate Dust, and his body falls out. With the Hydra out of mana, Kazuma orders all mages to transfer their mana to Megumin. She lets out a nuclear explosion that disintegrates the monster for good. Victory. Dust is resurrected. Nobody really cares. The guild celebrates, and Kazuma is hailed as a tactical genius. Darkness relieved and mission accomplished thanks Kazuma and says she's ready to face her destiny for the good of the city. Seems like a happy ending, right? They return to the mansion to party, ready to drink themselves silly, but the house is empty. Only the cat, Chomusuke, is there. On the table, a letter. Darkness is gone. She thanks them for the happy times but says she's leaving the party forever. The festive mood dies instantly. Kazuma realizes the Hydra victory didn't solve the real problem, the dirty politics and the fate Vanir predicted. The group's tank just rage quit the server, and the rabbit hole goes much deeper. The moral hangover after the Hydra battle is heavy. Darkness ditched the team, and like toxic exes who can't accept a breakup, the remaining trio goes to her mansion's gate to protest. Aqua tries to bribe the butler, but the only thing they achieve is almost getting arrested for trespassing. Back at base, the mood is a mix of a funeral and a Shark Tank workshop. Kazuma, remembering Vanir's financial advice, is focused on inventing products to get rich while incubating Aqua's ridiculous dragon egg. Megumin, on the other hand, is fuming. She bashes Kazuma for trying to replace Darkness and, in a genius move of sabotage, scares off any new tank candidates by advertising her own incompetence as an explosion mage. But the script decides we need a break from the depression for an American Pie-style subplot. Dust shows up freaking out because he thinks Arian, his teammate, is seeing another guy. Kazuma, motivated by gossip and coupons for the Succubus Cafe, agrees to investigate. The investigation turns into a bad episode of Cheaters. They follow Rin to an inn and discover her lover is a noble. What follows is the definition of chaos. Dust storms the room, finds red lingerie, and in a train of thought that only makes sense to him, decides to wear the lingerie to traumatize the noble. The scene is grotesque, a grown man striking poses, while Kazuma takes photos. The plot twist? The noble didn't want Rin. He's an obsessive Dust fanboy whose dream was to see the adventurer in this humiliating state. Basically, Dust just became a rich stalker's idol, and Rin was just trying to manage the crazy. Amidst the madness, Rin drops the real bomb. Darkness is marrying Aldarp, the corrupt governor who looks like a generic Disney villain. Kazuma pretends he doesn't care, acting tough, but we all know he's pure tsundere. At night, it's a Metal Gear Solid rescue mission, but on a $0 budget. Kazuma drags the girls to the Dustiness estate, asks for every possible buff from Aqua, including a versatile entertainer buff that only does party tricks and infiltrates alone. He sneaks past guards and uses his voice mimicry magic to create chaos in the kitchen, ensuring no one interrupts his search. The encounter with Darkness is the peak of cringe. She's in her room, sad, refusing midnight snacks. When Kazuma breaks in, the situation spirals. He tries to cover her mouth so she won't scream, but the position is compromising. When the guards knock, a panicked Kazuma uses mimicry to shout in Darkness's own voice that she's busy enjoying herself with magic toys. Congratulations, Kazuma. You saved your cover but nuked the girl's social reputation forever.
By herself at this hour? Must I spell it out for you guys?
All the rumors we've been hearing are
No,
actually
seriously.
true, then.
Were you perverts trying to...
Finally, they have a real talk. Darkness explains the family is underwater with debt to Aldarp, and the marriage is the payment. She refuses Kazuma's financial help with that "I can't take money from a commoner" honor speech and tries to force a dramatic goodbye. Kazuma, annoyed by her stubbornness, tries to make a cinematic exit through the window and fails miserably, face planting into the dirt. While fleeing, he enters the wrong room and runs into Darkness's father, Lord Ignis. The old man is on his deathbed, sick as a dog, but curiously finds the situation hilarious and practically begs Kazuma to kidnap his daughter. Unfortunately, not even Aqua's magic can cure his illness. The episode ends with Kazuma limping home, humiliated, hurt, and in desperate need of healing, both physical and mental. While Aldarp is spending a fortune marketing the wedding like it's the Super Bowl, Kazuma is at home in a state of productive procrastination. He's literally manufacturing bubble wrap to pass the time, waiting for Darkness to come crawling back for help. It's a level of toxic pride that would horrify any relationship coach. Megumin, who has zero patience for mind games, decides to solve it with domestic terrorism. She writes letters threatening to blow up the wedding. Kazuma intercepts the plan before the federal police knock on their door and lectures her. Time passes. Aqua tries to perform magic tricks at the Dustiness Gate to get attention, but only manages to annoy the dying father. Everyone is desperate and aimless. Tension explodes at dinner. Megumin, tired of Kazuma's passivity, calls him a coward. She knows that deep down, he wants to save his friend, but the fear of rejection or failure is paralyzing him. The argument ends with Megumin leaving, determined to stop the wedding herself, even if it means becoming a permanent outlaw. Kazuma finally snaps out of it. He admits he feels powerless. How can a nobody adventurer go toe-to-toe with the nobility and pay off a multi-million debt? That's when the script plays the most satisfying Deus Ex Machina of the season. Vanir enters the scene. The masked demon doesn't break in to fight, but for business. He saw the prototypes Kazuma was making and proposes to buy the intellectual property rights for everything. The offer? Exactly the amount needed to clear the Dustiness family debt. And here's the plot twist regarding the debt. Darkness didn't spend the money on Gucci bags. The debt exists because her family took on the damages caused by the party's previous battles, including the destruction from the mobile fortress destroyer. In other words, Darkness sold herself to Aldarp to clean up the mess Kazuma and the others made, and to save the local farmers from bankruptcy. She was tanking the financial consequences alone this whole time. Hearing this, Kazuma's blood boils. It's not about pride anymore, it's personal. He closes the deal with Vanir instantly, takes the cash, and sets out. Vanir even takes a free beating from Aqua in the process to regenerate his body, just for old time's sake. Cut to the Church of Eris. The atmosphere is tense. Darkness is in a wedding dress, looking beautiful, but like she's walking to the guillotine. Aldarp is at the altar, drooling, eager to consummate the marriage and seize the family lands. Guards block the commoners, but the church is packed with brown-nosing nobles. The ceremony begins. The priest enters. But wait, this priest is weird. He starts saying outrageous things, mocking the groom and blessing the couple's misery. In a classic romantic comedy move, but actually good, the hood falls off to reveal Aqua. Chaos ensues. Then, in a triumphant entrance worthy of Shrek stopping Fiona's wedding, Kazuma appears by her side. He throws off his disguise, gives that "I'm the protagonist of this show" look, and interrupts the ceremony. He screams for Darkness to come home with him, finally taking on the burden of kidnapping a noble and declaring war on the most powerful man in the city. Finally, the thief Kazuma is back to doing what he does best, stealing what he shouldn't and causing massive problems. Chaos reigns in the church. Darkness, in her wedding gown, is screaming at Kazuma for committing a capital crime by crashing the wedding, but our protagonist couldn't care less about royal etiquette. Aldarp, that toad-faced villain, tries his final card. He challenges Kazuma to pay off Darkness's debt right there, on the spot, if he's such a man. The price? 2 billion Eris. This is when Kazuma pulls the most gangsta move in the whole series. He doesn't pull out a check, he simply tips over a vase and makes it rain money in the church. It's like a 2000s rap video, but in a medieval setting. The floor is covered in bills, and the nobility, who should have class, scramble on the floor to grab coins like people fighting over TVs on Black Friday. Even the priests join in. While Aldarp is on the ground losing all dignity, Darkness finds out how Kazuma got the cash. He sold everything. Every idea, every prototype, his entire future, all sold to Vanir to buy her freedom. And the reaction from our favorite crusader? She starts hyperventilating. Knowing he ruined himself financially for her triggers her masochism to an astronomical level. Kazuma, trying to play the action movie hero, scoops Darkness up the bodyguard style. Only one problem: the woman is pure muscle, heavy as hell, and Kazuma has the physical strength of a sedentary gamer. He almost drops her but pushes through. They bolt for the exit, but guards block the door. Darkness, annoyed that Kazuma called her heavy, rips her wedding dress for better mobility and goes full brute force on the guards. Aqua uses a voice mimicking trick to sound like Aldarp and order the guards to stop, but a massive brute blocks the way. That's when Yun and Megumin arrive, blowing a hole through the wall and striking an entrance post worthy of the Avengers. Megumin threatens to drop an explosion inside the city. Aldarp thinks it's a bluff, but everyone who knows the Crimson Mage knows she really does have a screw loose. She detonates the spell just above their heads, a controlled blast that makes everyone soil themselves. Taking advantage of the confusion, the team runs. Outside, the chase continues. But Kazuma has the power of friendship, or rather the power of drinking buddies. Dust and the other adventurers start throwing themselves on the ground in front of the guards, faking severe injuries like NBA players hunting for a foul.
I'm here for you! Let me take a look at this. His arm, it's a community.
It's generalized chaos, blatant obstruction of justice, and the group manages to escape to the Dustiness estate. There, Darkness's father, Lord Ignis, is on his deathbed. It's a sad scene, a final goodbye, violin music playing. He says he's happy his daughter has such loyal friends and tries to push Darkness's hand toward Kazuma to marry them. Kazuma refuses instantly. He's not crazy enough to marry this lunatic. The old man accepts death, closes his eyes. The mood is heavy, and then Aqua casts a spell. Suddenly, the old man sits up, flushed and healthy. It wasn't a disease, it was a curse, and the useless goddess broke it without even reading the room. The emotional moment goes in the trash. Kazuma tries to hold back tears that have turned into pure embarrassment, and Aqua starts bragging like she just won an Oscar. Meanwhile, in the villain's basement, karma comes at full speed. Aldarp is beating his servant Max, demanding he alter everyone's memories, but Max is acting strange. Aldarp tries to offer Darkness in exchange for more favors, and Darkness appears at the door. But plot twist, it's Vanir in disguise. Vanir reveals the truth. Max isn't just any demon. He's Maxwell, a Duke of Hell. Aldarp has been bossing around a cosmic entity this whole time. The contract is up, and the price must be paid. And the price isn't money. Maxwell snaps Aldarp's arm like a twig and announces he's taking the governor to hell to feed on his despair for eternity. The next day, everything is back to normal. Aldarp has vanished, and his crimes are exposed. The best part, the kingdom confiscated the villain's assets and returned the 2 billion to Kazuma. The man is rich again. Aqua and Megumin shift their attitudes instantly, becoming his best gold-digging friends. But the icing on the cake is Darkness's legal status. Since she signed the marriage papers before the chaos and the groom vanished on the wedding night, she is technically a divorcee. Kazuma, ruthless as ever, christens her with the nickname that will haunt her forever: Divorced La Latina.
Hey, who cares what all the forms say? Divorce this.
And so we end the season with Kazuma wealthy, the team united, and Darkness's reputation more destroyed than ever.